We are live and direct. It is Queen from WatchHER Network and Jules from We Are RoundTable, and we are doing our very first artist to watch featuring K Cola.
Yeah.
So thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We basically combined both of our brands. So I run WatchHER Network. It is a safe platform for business owners, women who are running it in their fields, and an opportunity for us to create a community, but also to provide services. And I'll allow Jules to talk about Roundtable.
All right. I'm King Jules. I'm the founder of RoundTable. RoundTable is an independent record label and creative agency based in Brooklyn. We've been in operation for the past 5 years, helping artists at the very earliest stages, from artist development to artist management, and preparing them for the next level. So that's Roundtable. And like Queen mentioned, we decided to combine our brands in a very special way, collaboration at its rawest form. And we came up with the idea for A&R HOUR, providing artists an opportunity to show their music in the midst of a pandemic. There's no live shows. It's very hard to do music videos, get in the studio. So how are people listening to your music? How are people connecting? Streaming sales are down, live sales are down. So how can we connect artists at the very core? So we decided to put together A&R HOUR, and with that, we decided to create our first artist to watch. We have K Cola here, and I'm super excited. I feel like this is like our biggest person to date, Grammy nominated, like a legend in her field already, and I'm super excited to dive into what we got to talk about today.
Yay! Thanks, guys.
No problem at all.
So for us to get started, Kay, can you just give us, some background? Tell us about yourself, not music related. Like, who is Kay at the core?
So I'm LA born and raised. I grew up with a musician father and a middle class working mom. And, growing up in LA is cool because you experience like diversity, every culture, different food, and every, all kinds of different music. So for me, I grew up listening to jazz and classical and grunge rock and R&B and hip hop. So I got, a bit of it all. And I think that reflects in my personality and my music. I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate about the people. I'm very passionate about our people. I love children, and I care about this planet, and I care about our mental health. So I think all of that just reflects in like my art and artistry. I'm a mom and a business owner. So yeah.
Awesome. You kind of touched on some points that we definitely want to dive into. But you mentioned that you come from, musician dad, middle class working mom. I definitely connect with that. I grew up in that same family situation. So how did you personally get your start in music, growing up in that background?
Yeah. It's so funny because like even though I was in the studio with my dad growing up, like he didn't help me at all. Like it wasn't like he like threw me a lob or something. I just I've been writing songs since I was 8. I used to be like, because I used to journal a lot. Like I would write stories and things like that. So music was kind of just like my outlet and therapy, writing. And I remember like girls used to ask me to like voicemails. Like if you remember voicemails, I could sing anything for them.
Mm-hmm.
And like tell their boyfriends they could sing. So like everybody knew I could sing, and like people used to ask me to be in different groups and things like that. So I've just always been doing it, like talent shows and anything that I could find just to be able to do music. I was there.
Got it. I definitely understand. So what are some of your like earliest influences, and like talk about some of your influences that you have now in your music?
In terms of writing, it would be like John Mayer, Sade, a band called Incubus.
I love Incubus.
Yeah. Coldplay. I went to high school with a writer named James Fauntleroy, and so he was a really big inspiration.
James is that dude.
Yeah, we went to high school together, and we used to like sing like Kim Burrell songs in our choir class, and he was one of the first people to bring me in as like a writer / artist to like some of the major studios. So he's definitely been an inspiration. I would say right now, my biggest inspiration is life, because everything that I'm writing about has either happened to me or someone close to me or an observation. So it's a lot easier to write just about like what you're observing and what's going on.
Cool. Definitely. I definitely want to tap into this next point. You mentioned that your influences in terms of, introducing kind of the alternative styles, John Mayer and all the people that you listed. So how would you personally characterize your sound with all of those influences?
People will probably classify it as R&B, but I would say it's like a hybrid. And I think that's more accepted now than when I was doing it a long time ago, because I used to want to be like a rock singer. And at the time, the only person doing that who looked like me was a girl named Fifi Dobson. And even for her, there were a lot of challenges. So, I play guitar. Like, again, I listen to a lot of different music. So you can hear that in my music. Like, you can hear different influences. I mean, I even rap. Like, I rap. But to me, it's not like rap, like, oh, I'm trying to be a rapper. Like, it's like poetry to me. Like, when I'm rapping, like, I don't feel like I'm just trying to be like some hardcore rapper. Like, I feel like I'm just, writing poetry against melody and beat. And so I do that. I'll sing, just against acoustic guitar. I can write to pretty much any beat.
Yeah, you're writing.
Yes.
I know that you write for other people in addition to writing for yourself.
Yes.
So I kind of wanted you to maybe deep dive into that experience. You said that life is a great influence for you in terms of what you write about. How do you become transparent in when you're writing for other people?
You know what? I'm not gonna lie, like, writing for other people was not an enjoyable experience for me. Only because when you're writing for other people, there's other things connected to it. There's certain things that labels want. There's certain, things that they're looking for. They may be looking for a radio hit, or they may be looking for something to sound like this. And for me, what I've learned is that I love music so much, and I love being vulnerable in my music. Like, it gives me an opportunity to be so vulnerable and say things that I used to be afraid to say. So when you're writing for other people, sometimes you're not, and it's getting better. I see that it's getting better, and being vulnerable and honest is more accepted. But it didn't, when I was writing for people before, like, that was not it. Like, you're trying to get your radio hit, you're trying to get your smash. And I literally like cringe when I hear the word smash. Like, it's like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to, like, this is supposed to be healing. This is supposed to be a gift. Like, and when it turns into like this competitive, cutthroat like thing, for me, that's when it's not fun anymore. Yeah. So at the time when I was writing, it was, in hindsight, looking back on it, I wasn't really happy. The hustle of going from studio to studio is not fun. Yeah. The pressure of like, oh, how many songs did you write today? I wrote 5. Well, I wrote 8. You know what I mean? Like, that's not fun. Yeah. There are some times where I'll start a song and I'll finish one half of it, and maybe 3 months later, the next half will come. Yeah. And it comes out so fire. Like, that to me is like where we should be at with music.
So it's really evident that you care about the purity of this experience, right? Like, you want to be able to translate who you are, your life experience, into your actual art. It's like really also evident that you're on this journey of self-discovery through like your Instagram, your posts, the type of things that you tweet. I know a lot of your tweets end with like, I love you, I hope you heal.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to kind of understand how you balance your life practices with like actually writing for yourself and creating music that's pure to your experience.
Yep. You know what? I stopped writing on a schedule. I started writing when I felt like it. And I think that I'm blessed to be able to do that because I do have a home studio, and it can be challenging. I think every musician should have a home studio, and it doesn't have to be some big elaborate thing. Like, you can literally just have your computer, your Pro Tools, you know, your little plugins, and whatever mic you can afford. Like, I think that it's very helpful to do it when you're feeling it, like when you're inspired. My dad used to keep a recorder and a pad next to his bed because in the middle of the night in his dreams, he would get melodies and songs. So to me, like, that's dope. Like, not, you know, oh, I booked the studio this day, so I have to come out with this record.
Right.
So that's helped me with the balance and just enjoying it because, you know, music, it's like growing up, music brings you so much joy. It's your outlet. And when the business of it gets involved, that's when it can be tiresome. So I think also living life is extremely important for your artistry, because if you're just always locked in the studio, I mean, you're going to have to write from a contrived place. Like, how are you possibly coming up with this if you're never experiencing anything? And I tend to create best when I'm like angry, sad, heartbroken. I think most people, and it's because you're really feeling it, like you're passionate and you're pretty much describing what you're going through in these songs.
I love
So
that.
you mentioned your dad basically recording in the middle of the night, stopping his dreams to record. So let's talk about lucid dreams, girl. So your project that you just released
Mm-hmm.
on your birthday,
Yes.
happy belated.
Thank you.
Of course. So let's talk about the process of the lucid dream project.
Yes.
Have you ever had a lucid dream?
Yes. Yes. So that's where like my nickname, the Lucid Dream Queen, comes from, because I've been lucid dreaming since I was like 9 or somewhere around there. And I remember seeing this movie where this girl did it, and then I did it, or at least I was aware now that I was capable of doing it. And it's not something that a lot of people, I don't think, are aware of. I think it's a little bit more popular now, but to me, I just took that as a metaphor for life, that like, once you're aware of things that are going on around you, once you awaken, that you can start to control your dreams. Because I would have these nightmares. And once I started realizing like, okay, wait a minute, this is a dream. So I can change the dream. And that's what I would start doing in my dreams. And I just realized that that's what I have to do in life. Like, I have to take responsibility and I have to change this dream, because this whole thing, this matrix we live in, like, I feel like this is all a dream.
So
Yeah, no.
I think that with the lucid dreams, that's a lot of control, and for you, a lot of power. I know I'm not capable of lucid dreaming. It's a lot of power, and it says a lot about your character. How does that translate to your personal life and how you go about doing things?
Yeah, I started realizing that I'm a rapid manifester, and that just means whatever I start thinking about, or even if someone gives me an idea about something they want to do, I can make it happen for them. And so once I realized that I was manifesting a lot of the negative things that were happening to me in my life, and started taking responsibility. I mean, obviously there are things that we just have no control over, and they're like happenstance things that happen, you know what I mean? But when you start to obsess about a thought, whether it's positive or negative, everything in the universe starts to, you know, come together to make that happen. So I had to start realizing like, okay, I have to shift the way I'm thinking. And if I do really want something to happen, I can't be scared of it, because I realized that I used to be scared of a lot of things that I said that I wanted. So I started manifesting like abundance and favor and creativity and just all kinds of things when I shifted how I started thinking.
Which really translates in the project itself. So I listened to the whole thing. It is fire.
Thank you.
Let's just get that out. It's fire.
Thank you.
I know that you were involved in your production. You said that you mentioned earlier that you play the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
How involved were you in piecing the production together for all of the lucid dreams, like the mini lucid dreams in each record that you were translating?
Yeah, so I A&R everything. I pick the records. Of course, I write all of my stuff. I don't have any co-writers, so I pretty much have full creative control. It's just me and my engineer and then like the producer. One of the songs, Hopes and Dreams, I wrote on my guitar. So yeah, I had full creative control, and that's fun to me. Like I love that.
Yeah, and I'm sure as an artist, it's also a liberating feeling to have not necessarily the business portion, but at least the art you have full control over. You have your hand in. You're obviously orchestrating everything that's taking place.
And it gives your audience a chance to truly like get to know you, personally. So I'm sorry, one second.
I will admit that Hopes and Dreams, you crying at the end of that record made me shed a tear.
It's so emotional.
It's so emotional. It's so emotional, girl. Yeah. So I want to talk about like why you chose to, because it's also the last record on the project.
Yeah.
So why did you choose to be that vulnerable on the record, to allow yourself to like cry, and like, was that just what you felt in the moment?
Because when I wrote that song, I thought my whole world was crumbling down, and like, I know how it feels to be so heartbroken that you just like don't know what you're gonna do next. So I wanted to share that with other people who have like been through a similar situation, or where you felt like, man, this could be so perfect, but it's the wrong time, or, oh my God, I'll never love anyone else. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted people to like feel how I was feeling when I wrote that record.
And I think you perfectly translated that message. No, honestly. I also wanted to kind of deep dive into Dream Girl. So, I know that earlier you mentioned you used to go to the studio with your dad, but you weren't necessarily involved with like his music and not necessarily being involved with yours.
Yeah.
How was this process making this record and allowing it, like collaborating with him to be on it?
So I've been telling my dad, I told my dad we need to do like a whole album, but we're both so busy, but I just feel like it's something that we should do. But I wrote and recorded the record first, and I was like, oh, this would be so fire if my dad was on it. So I called him up one day. I was like, Dad, do you want to come to the studio? Can you like play on this record? And he literally just came and he freestyled. I think we did like 2 takes, and he just killed it immediately. So yeah, he's definitely, I mean, when they say he's literally the best at what he does, he's like, I'm just like amazed every time.
No, it's a beautiful record. And also you provided something that most records nowadays don't necessarily provide, which is like a music gap, right? So like,
yes!
a lot of the music that we grew up on, that's why the records are like 7 minutes long, because they used to be like a 3-minute jam session. And so it's very evident that you just kind of allowed him to fill the space as much as he possibly could. And he did a great job in translating that. It's obvious that you kind of grew up inspired by that type of music, and you wanted to bring that into what you did for this project. In terms of how you've been recording your videos, I see that you have really adapted to the fact that we can't go outside.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about you kind of choosing to do that, and just not necessarily making a whole treatment for a video, but really just you, a mic, you know, a guitarist if you need, you know what I mean? Can you talk a little bit about making that switch according to the pandemic?
You know what's so weird is that, so I was doing my backyard videos before the pandemic, and the reason I wanted to do that was because I love musicians. Like, I think it's such a skill and talent to, you know, if whether you read music or not, just the ear that musicians have is so dope to me. So I wanted to showcase that and showcase like, hey, this girl can sing like live. Like, it doesn't have to be all tuned up and whatever, bells and whistles. So I just thought it was so fire. And I have like this beautiful backyard in nature. I love nature. I was like, this is going to be fire. So it kind of just panned out. Like when the pandemic happened, I'm like, oh, we can do this again. And then recording the music video for my song Good just worked out as well, because initially, like if you listen to the song, it sounds like I'm writing about a guy, but in the video, I'm actually talking to myself, and I'm, you know, expressing love for myself and all the things that make me feel happy and healthy, like yoga, meditation, you know, even feeling yourself in the mirror when you dance, when your song comes on and you're like, hey, I look good today, you know, like all those things that just make you feel bomb. Like, that's what I wanted to express in the video, you know, that we don't have to, like, it doesn't require somebody else to make us feel good.
Yeah, sure. I love the fact that you tapped into your just self-love and self-care. And you mentioned earlier about mental health. How important is that balance right now during the pandemic, creatively and trying to find new ways to reinvent yourself?
So, man, I'm an empath, and that's where you can feel other people's feelings. So the amount of anxiety that I feel on the planet right now is very overwhelming. Again, I'm blessed to live in California in a really beautiful home. And even I get like really like anxious and nervous, like thinking about the fact I can't go sit down somewhere to eat dinner other than my house. I can't go to a movie. I can't go, you know what I mean? Like just the thought of that and you not knowing when that's ever going to happen again can be very scary. It can cause you to, you know, have anxiety and depression. And especially if you are somewhere that's colder. Sorry, my phone. If you are somewhere that's colder, cloudier, if you are somewhere that doesn't have many windows, you know, it's like being in prison. And so you have to mentally escape that, because right now we're not able to physically escape that. And so I think right now is the best time for us to go within and to meditate more. If people don't know how to meditate, there are so many options where you can learn. You can go on YouTube. Everything is on YouTube. You can learn on YouTube. You can Google how to meditate. If that's not your thing, pray. You know, if that's not your thing, go outside for a walk every day. Like, don't skip, because there is something about getting, you know, the fresh air and just not being confined to those walls. So I take mental health very serious. I've had anxiety, I've had depression, I've had PTSD. So I know what it's like to go down that rabbit hole, and you have to put it at the forefront.
So aside from you doing your music, you are also a business owner.
Yes.
Of an organic hair and salon, girl.
Yes.
And it's doing great.
Yes.
So, aside from that, as well as you being a mom.
Yeah.
Let's talk about just being a woman in the industry, obviously, because we're obviously being told that we could only do one thing, but you are multifaceted.
Sure.
Can we talk a little bit about not solely the balance portion, but you wearing multiple hats amidst you being an artist?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's so funny you say that, because it's like, if you when you're a female boss, like you're automatically, can I curse on here?
You can do whatever you want. It's your space.
I've noticed it's like things that men can say that if I say it, I'm a bitch. Like,
true.
And I've noticed that like it's like, if I'm super ambitious, then it's like, there's a thing to it, right? Where if a man is super ambitious, like, oh, that's sexy, you know what I mean? And it is changing. I will say, I have noticed that men are like starting to accept and actually be attracted to ambitious women, or at least they say they are until they actually get with one. Then it's like, oh, why aren't you have time for, you know what I mean? So I've definitely had to, you know, find a balance with that. But man, I can't help it. Like, I love learning. Like, I read. A lot of people don't read anymore. Like, I love when, instead of, you know, and every once in a while I'll put on, you know, one of the silly shows or whatever. But for the most part, like, I'm watching documentaries, I'm watching, you know, podcasts, because I'm like obsessed with learning. So I don't have a choice. Like, when people say like they're in this quarantine bored, I'm like, how are you bored? Like,
that's a fact.
There's so much you could be doing right now. But again, that's, everyone's different. It's not for everyone. But me, like, this makes me feel purposeful, passionate. It turns me on. It's literally like everything, just working, learning new things, creating new businesses, all that stuff is what gets me going.
So especially during this time of the pandemic, we're seeing a lot of transition in terms of small businesses being impacted.
Yeah.
Larger corporations are filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Organic Grow Hair Co.
Mm-hmm.
has still had a very strong following in terms of the people who understand your product and the passion that you have behind providing natural products. Can you talk a little bit about not solely just like the pandemic itself, but just building that business and what it meant to you personally?
You know what? Like, what I've learned about myself recently is that, like, I may not have millions and millions of people who know about me, but the people who do know about me, like, really fuck with me. And I think it's because I am not trying to be something that I'm not. Like, I'm not out here faking anything. So with Organic Grow, like, I was just honest. I'm like, look, this other stuff is poisoning our people, okay? It's causing infertility. Our hair is not growing. We're not accepting our hair more when we should be, because it's bomb and it downloads information from the sun. And I'm gonna let you know all of this. Like, I'm gonna tell you why your hair is fly and why you don't need to be doing this, and the other to it. And I also big up my, I call them growers, my customers, I call them growers. I big them up because, like, they're the star of the show. Like, I'm not about to pay an influencer to lie and say something worked, or, you know, just, I'm not doing any of that. Like, every single testimonial is from someone who uses the product, who bought the product and thought it was dope. So I just think that that's what sets me apart. Besides the fact that it actually works and it's truly non-toxic. Like, it's a lot of natural products out there, but they're not natural, and they still have these toxic preservatives or fragrances or whatever the case. And I like to be the best. So like, if all the stuff that, like, I take all the feedback, I'm always trying to improve. I'm like, we are not comfortable. Like, this is not, okay, we did do numbers, but nope, we're going to fix this. We're going to, like, I'm always trying to outdo, you know, what we did before. So
yeah,
I think that's why. And also, I think the fact that, like, I genuinely want to help these people grow their hair. Like, whether it's their hair or bald spot or, or whether it's because somebody had a perm and then they got fibroids, or they're having infertility issues. Like, I want people to live their best life while we have this short time here.
Sure.
So I think that they feel like the genuineness of that. It's not just like, oh, I'm selling a product. Like,
no, I mean, I think you kind of hit it on the head when you said that you provide each and every testimonial. So each and every person who uses your product, whether they just purchased it or they've been using it for years, they provide you with feedback, and you are very transparent about what that feedback looks like. even the process, because I did my investigation prior to doing this interview, or prior to us even doing this conversation. I have been following your Organic Pro page, and I went on the website. Just as a Black woman, I'm going to be attentive as hell. So I went on the website, and you separate all of the porosities of hair. You actually provide information on how to kind of figure that out and then purchase the product that is specific to the hair porosity, which I think
texture.
Yeah, which a lot of hair care products, they kind of just are like curls.
Yes. Coconut oil.
You know what I mean?
Throw coconut oil over your life. I'm like, no, actually, coconut oil is not work. Coconut oil breaks me out and makes my hair fall out. So I'm like, you can't just, it's not a one size fits all situation.
It's very obvious that you took the time to also like deep dive into that. Can you talk about the information that you had to sort out in order for you to provide products that are particular to different types of hair textures?
Yeah, so, well, I think it's been a blessing having kids with different textures. So you have to, like, I don't understand people who don't care to learn how to do their kids' hair. It's like, if you don't have the same texture as your kid, you got to figure it out. And for me, it was just like, okay, I would see a girl use a product that's super popular, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why is this not working on my hair? Mm-hmm. Is something wrong with my hair? Like, is it always gonna be like this? And I just got tired of feeling like that. So then I started looking at the ingredients, and then I was like, ooh, this is toxic. Why am I putting this on myself? And then I was like, oh, maybe my hair doesn't like this ingredient. I wonder why. So then I started researching, all of those just different, just little idiosyncrasies of, and this is part of me being OCD, and just really needing to know, why, because I know I'm not the only one going through it. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but like, you could use a product for a little bit and then it stops working.
Yes.
That shouldn't be happening. I
haven't experienced that. There's very limited options for me, That's
so funny, because guys will literally wash their face with an old rag and water and be fine, and we'll be using like mask and serum and and we'll be like, oh.
Yeah, like, I give kudos to my fiance, who's kind of like boosting me up and try to, bring me up to another level.
Yes.
Because, I was used to just a simple face washing my face with the rag, calling it a day. Now I learned about toners, moisturizing oil, all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, dang, no wonder y'all spend so much money at the store.
Yeah, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. And it self-care, again, self-care is self-love. And I think taking care of your skin is super important. And also knowing what you're putting in your body and on your body, because our skin is the largest organ and it's taking all of this stuff in.
That's deep. I just thought about that. I'm like, wow, skin.
No, love that.
I mean, if you think about it, they give us, like, now they have the birth control patch, right? And it's literally your skin absorbing the medicine. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with our lotions. Like, they did studies where they found in our bloodstream the ingredients in some of these care products that we're using. Yeah. So.
And then I think the other portion too is that we don't often talk about all of the things that our skin or hair go through. So like eczema, dry skin, like all of those issues that we as people of color endure. We're not really talking about them openly enough for us to find, like, collectively find the solutions for us. You know what I mean?
Yes. I used to break out from hair products in high school, and I thought that I had like super bad acne. And then now looking back on it, I'm like, oh, it's because it had blue number 5, or it had, you know what I mean? Like, it had this fragrance and my skin didn't like it. Like, my skin's not breaking out anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? That we should not be breaking out from the products that we're using. That's our body's way of saying this is not for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you also mentioned earlier that you're an avid book reader. What are some books that you're reading right now?
What is the one that I just posted? I'm reading this one from the Harvard Review called Mental Toughness. I don't remember the exact name, but it's on mental toughness. Mm-hmm. And I need it because daily I'm putting out fires, and sometimes I just want to give up. And it just teaches you how to be like strong and resilient and give you another perspective. I just finished reading The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida.
Yes.
Yep. I just got this one Japanese book called Ikiaga, I believe, and it's just a book about like the pursuit of happiness and how to have a happy life. I'm reading a book called The Return to Love. I forgot who the author is. I'm like, I stay reading books.
Yeah, no, I see.
What else?
What would you say your favorite book is?
Of all time?
Of all time.
I have two. No, I have two. The Zaire by, I'm sorry, not the Zaire. It's by Khalil Gibran. Yes. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, I love the
Prophet. It's the black one with the imprint on the. Oh my gosh. Huh? How do I forget this right now?
No worries. I mean, I love Khalil Gibran's work.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
But you know, I'll tell you a little tidbit. So I got into Khalil Gibran from the Boondocks. So there's a part there's a part in the Boondocks where Riley and Huey, as they always go back and forth, they like finish the episode, and at the end of the episode, Huey is like, your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. And with that understanding, you use it as the remedy to heal your sick self. So like when I was watching the episode, I'm like, what am I watching? Like, how did they just drop this bomb on me? And why is everyone else acting like this didn't just happen? So I ended up like looking him up and reading The Prophet, where that quote actually
The Prophet. That is the book.
The Prophet.
Oh my God. That is one of my best friend gave me that book. It was his book 10 years ago, and he hasn't seen it since. I stole it from him. Yep, that is I read that to my aunt who passed away a few months ago. I would go to her nursing home and read it to her. It was so beautiful. It would make her cry. Like, it's a beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's very pure. It's a pure.
Yeah, it gives you such a just different like perspective on life, like another dimensional perspective on life. And then The Alchemist, definitely, by Paulo Coelho. That's why I had said the Zaire earlier, because that was one of my other. Paulo Coelho is my favorite author, but he has a book called The Zaire about like twin soul flames, and so that book is beautiful too. Anything Paulo Coelho. So those are my two. Like, The Alchemist completely changed my life.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people that
to the point where I find that I have to read it repeatedly.
Yeah.
Continue to remind myself of the journey itself and the perspective throughout the entire journey, because it provides that throughout the entire book. Yeah.
And I will put The Way of the Superior Man up there too, because I just think it's dope too, as like a woman, to read about.
Yeah.
From just because we're always reading books about ourselves, and like, I just think it's dope to read books about men and their perspective and what they're going through and their thought process, so we can try it, because we think so differently.
Yeah. And life translates it differently too. How a man will run a business versus how a woman will run a business is much different. A man's interaction with his employees or the people they're connecting with is a little bit different from a woman. So it's always good for me. Like, personally, my whole team is always a whole bunch of women, because I just get a whole clarity and understanding and a different perspective, because you know, at the end of the day, the mass consumer is a woman, and you should be appealing to the mass consumer. At the end of the day, women spend way more money than men do, and they invest long term into people. And that also, as people of color, you know, our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts invest so much in seeing us succeed. So at the forefront, you have to give the same thing back, you know, as a man. That's why I think that's definitely a good read.
That's fly. I like that. I love that. And I think women are better at like just doing paperwork and making sure. Like,
women are better at everything. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Motherhood, that's just number one. That's top tier, okay? If you can bring life into this world, that's number one, okay? Nothing else can compare. Which is a perfect segue, because I definitely want to tap in. How has motherhood affected your creative process and how you do music and kind of shift you into the woman that you are?
You know, kids just make you like, kids mature you a lot faster. And they make you look like, it's like holding a mirror to yourself. Like, oh, okay, I've been doing this toxic thing for a while. So and now there's this little person looking at me and like, you know, kind of letting me know like, hey, wait a minute, you know? So I think just in an overall perspective, like kids just make you, for the most part, I think that they make most people better people, you know, which can translate into your art, because as you grow as a person, you're growing your art.
That's beautiful.
Love it. Love it.
I also wanted to tap into the fact that honestly, I've only met one other person in my life that has either been Grammy nominated or won a Grammy. And that person was a professor of mine. He won a Latin Grammy. He talked about it for every class. Hey, I won a Latin Grammy. But you have been nominated for a Grammy. What was that experience like?
You know, I thought it would be a little bit like bigger than you know, but I didn't go to the Grammys, and it wasn't my record. So even though it's cool and I think that's like, I don't want to diminish the accomplishment of that, because I do think that like every musician strives to be recognized in some sort of fashion. Mm-hmm. I think it's more important to love your art and be like happy with your art. Because I know a lot of people that have won Grammys with silly shit. It's like, did you really, like, once all the applause and everything went away, like, did you really fuck with that? Like, did it really? I don't think it satisfies anyone unless it came from like, damn, I went through something, I wrote about it, or I, you know, whatever, like it transcribed through this, and then I got the recognition for it. And I'm also learning through all my challenges that I've been through, like it's helping me realize that it's not about all the applause, because you will always be looking for that. It's like, it's a drug. That's like Jay-Z said, like fame is, you know, the greatest drug known to man. So like once you've arrived to the point where you're doing it for yourself and you're doing it to heal yourself and others, that's like the true reward. Like that's the bag.
That's beautiful. And honestly, I think I referenced Drake's speech when he didn't win the Grammy, or he's talking about how like that's not the validation you need, you know. And I think more so now, Grammys has become a popularity contest as among the Recording Academy. Who's the most popular person? It's like politics within the music industry. Who can connect with who's talking to this person? How can we get them this award? Not even a matter of like who's most deserving of the award anymore.
Because there are so many talents. I mean, there are people that have not even been nominated that should have won Grammys. Mm-hmm. And I think people don't understand also that the music business is a business. It, you know, that record deal is a bank loan. and that has to be paid back with interest. And a lot of this stuff that we think like a lot of the accolades or even the charts or the streams are paid for. And so, or even people who are going to perform at these award shows, like you have to pay. It's not like, oh, you were so, like your label paid for you. It's a commercial, so more people will stream your music. And that's not something that I want to like strive for. Like I just want y'all to find my music and be like, wow, dang, I felt you on that. Or, oh, you helped me get through this. Or like, that is fire to me.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that.
So you've dropped a lot of great knowledge, just not solely about yourself, but just life in general, which I think that people are going to gravitate to. So as you were to give advice to not necessarily your younger self, but just a person that you know is kind of trying to figure out their journey in their artistry, what are some tidbits that you would leave with them?
That's so funny. My, I wouldn't call her my little sister, but she's like a younger, she looks up to me. She called me and she's kind of frustrated because she's talented and she wants to do music. And I was like, girl, like as a woman, get your money. And then like, because I don't think anyone should depend on, the powerful people in this industry. It's really sickening how people use their power to try and manipulate you. But if you have your own, you don't have to worry about that, and you can do everything from a pure place. Mm-hmm. And you won't feel turned off, because for a while I felt very turned off from music in the music industry, just because of how people will treat you if you're a woman, if you look a certain way, you know what I mean? Like it's like everybody's always trying to get something. So if you already have your own, like you can take control of where you want to go. I think it's important to know yourself so that nobody can tell you who you are, because it's very easy to get, I think you sound like this. I think you should look like this. I think this is dope for you. And it's like, do you even think that's dope for you? So know who you are. I think it's important to read a lot so that you know more words, so you don't have to keep using the same words. Like if I hear worth it and perfect in a song again, I'm gonna pull my hair out. Like we gotta do better, like I just think there's just so many more things outside of the actual craft itself that you can do as a human being to be fire, like as an artist and a person.
Right.
Awesome.
Well, I believe that's all of our questions. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, to share your story, share your experience. You've dropped a lot of great knowledge that individuals can gravitate to. I just wanted to extend my gratitude to you for taking the time out, for being who you are, for committing yourself to your mission and your goal, and really fulfilling God's purpose as you are living your life journey. No problem.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And, you guys ask amazing questions. So that's always
so much today, honestly.
Believe it or not, this is my first time interviewing an artist. So,
wow.
Congratulations.
That.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you.
And this is a great artist to have your first one.
That's my first one, right? For sure.
An industry veteran, like even though as young as you are, like you have a lot of knowledge, understanding of how the industry works, and that translate. And there's somebody, whether it's a young woman or a young man, that needs to hear that, and they're a part of that journey and understand that, you know what, I'm not alone, and there are other people that I can connect with as well. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Honestly, like, I'm at a loss for words, but I can say is thank you, honestly.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to Artists to Watch. This has been awesome, amazing. Well, stay tuned. You can follow us at RoundTable at We Are RoundTable. You can follow Queen at
WatchHER Network. And you can Follow K Cola and stream her new project, The Lucid Dream. Check it out. Take a second, vibe out, light some sage, light some incense, because it's about to be a vibe.
Yes, get you some Palo Santo, some sage.
Yes.
Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at K-Cola, and definitely stream Lucid Dreams on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music.
Awesome. Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.